Okay, let's try the 516 area code. Caller from 516, you're on. Tell me who you are, where you're calling from, and what's on your mind.
Hey, David, how you doing? I'm John from Springfield, New Jersey.
What's on your mind, John?
But haven't. My question's a little involved, so just give me a second to make my case. Just curious on what your thoughts are on. I'm presuming that you've been following up with the latest news with the Harvey Weinstein scandal and just Hollywood and the Twitter boycott and so forth. Want your thoughts on the current climate and reactions to the Harvey Weinstein scandal and the very real and scary paradigm of men in power using their position of influence to harass and molest and rape women without fear of consequence, but particularly with this climate of the finger pointing and putting so much stock in accusations rather than genuine convictions. Sort of alluding to, I'm not sure if you're familiar with like the Woody Allen quote that's been sort of misinterpreted but still distasteful regarding witch hunt in Hollywood. Again, I'm not trying to allude that I have any sort of sympathy for Harvey Weinstein or anything, but just basically this general attitude of putting so much stock in accusations. It just reminds me very much of the Red Scare in Hollywood in the late 1940s.
Yeah, so a couple thoughts. I mean, number one, I would hesitate to go to Woody Allen one way or the other on anything related to sexual impropriety. The guy is with his adopted stepdaughter, right? He's now married. I don't know if they're married or he's romantically involved with his adopted stepdaughter. So I wouldn't necessarily go to Woody Allen first and foremost on what's going on with Harvey Weinstein.
I'm alluding to the fact that just because he had, I'm not trying to defend his personal history, or I'm not trying to put him as some sort of authority figure, but
right.
He pointed out, a very real witch hunt-like mob mentality that I would like your thoughts on.
Well, listen, I mean, my thoughts on Weinstein are similar to with Bill Cosby, right? I mean, this is a guy who appears to be, by every indication, a total scumbag. And these allegations, they much like with Bill Cosby, they're coming from women who don't know each other, much like with our current president, Donald Trump, women who, to argue that they are somehow conspiring to concoct stories that date over decades and decades, et cetera. I mean, there's no defense you're going to hear from me of the alleged actions, because my default is not to not believe the alleged victims. And if the question is, are there ever false accusations of sexual assault? Of course there are. Of course there are sometimes false accusations of sexual assault, but I don't know specifically what it is you want me to comment on.
Just particularly it's really sort of an oppression Olympics extension, I think, with regards to, the Me Too hashtag trending on Twitter like that. It's just kind of this strange sort of deification of victimhood, and it's just putting, there's like the Casey Affleck thing. I'm not too familiar with his whole thing, but just the fact that he's being considered a sexual, and the fact that settlements are being used as confessions of guilt and so forth. And just
but listen, settlements are not confessions of guilt. Settlements are not confessions of guilt. But if you see a pattern,
no. But how in general, of course not. But in general, how it's so often seen and suggested that it is. It's just kind of. Are you at all concerned with just general? And I think it's fair to say leftist culture in general of just not rushing to the defense of the accused, but which is what happens in a liberal democracy, innocent before proven guilty.
Yeah, listen, I'm concerned with it. I'm concerned with it insofar as I've identified, you're mixing a bunch of different issues, right? You're talking about deification of victimhood.
Not really.
You're talking about oppression. Hold on a second. You're talking about oppression Olympics. You're mixing a whole bunch of different stuff. So we've got to really break these down.
No, it's inseparably entwined.
Okay.
I don't think that's
unfortunately.
fair.
Listen, if you see it as all the same thing, you see it as all the same thing. I don't.
No,
I'm trying to give you at least an answer.
They're all entwined.
I'm trying to give you an answer to at least part of your question, and you're not letting me. So maybe we'll talk about it at some other time. But these are separate issues. I've been critical of some of the issues you've mentioned. You're also wrapping things together that aren't actually related operationally. I don't think I'm going to have an answer that you'll be okay with today. So maybe we'll address it in the future.
I was just curious what your thoughts were on it.
Well, you didn't let me then give them to you. You kept telling me I don't understand
No,
the issue,
because
so maybe I
you
don't.
weren't addressing my question specifically. You were defending your own track, saying I stand with the women. I don't. I'm not asking your position on the individual cases against Harvey Weinstein. I'm talking about the culture.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, I'm against the idea of oppression Olympics. I think oppression Olympics is different than the default of not assuming accusers of sexual assault, something that's highly stigmatized, are lying. Like, do you see how those are two different things?
Yeah, but I'm not implying that women are lying. I'm just talking about the general culture that
So
is
I don't think I know
spawning
that
from
you
this.
want me to issue some blanket critique of the general culture. And what I'm telling you is what you're calling the general culture are different issues. And if you don't agree to that, then there's really nothing to talk about.
Okay, I was just wondering if you had made these similar sort of observations that you think I'm too generalizing or to make drawing. I don't know. It seems that you think I have an unfair sort of observation of
I'm not
the
saying you're
current
being
climate.
unfair. I'm just saying you've decided how these issues are related. And unless I answer with that as an assumed part of it, you're not going to agree with me. So I think, well, let's put a pause on it there. Okay. That's it for calls this week. Some good ones, some very short ones, some longer ones. We didn't agree with the premises with every call. But what I can tell you is that we will take calls again.